Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Connection Compass. I'm your host, Andrea Louise Evans. In this episode, I am joined by Sarah Stevens, visibility strategist, PR marketing specialist and founder of the Basim Method and Tree Communications. With a career spanning the travel, tourism, hospitality and leisure industries, Sarah has worked with some of the biggest names in the business, helping others to step into their own light and be seen. But Sarah's story also carries deep courage and compassion. After losing her eldest daughter Violet at just 15 months old, and later her son Arthur, Sarah became an advocate for life after child loss, using her voice to challenge taboo and to honour grief in all its forms. In this episode, we talk about the experience that shaped her expertise, from the early opportunities that built her confidence to the impact of COVID on her freelance work and her healing. Sarah opens up about high-functioning grief, prejudice after loss, and finding ways to keep showing up even when life feels impossibly heavy. We also explore her mission to help others to be visible through the Global Visibility Club. Hi there, Sarah. Welcome to the Connection Compass podcast. How are you today?
Well, thank you, Andrea. Yeah, loving the sunshine and the warmer weather.
Me too, but I have to say, I have been thinking about my autumn clothes
Already.
already. Yes, but never mind. It's been really nice having the lovely weather over spring and summer. It's been an absolute dream, actually. It's been a real treat because we do get a lot of rain in Manchester, don't we?
We do. Yes.
Yeah. So, for the listeners, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name's Sarah Stevens. I'm a PR expert, the founder of the Basim Method. I'm a luxury travel concierge as well, and I'm also an advocate for life after child loss.
You have just this wealth of knowledge and experience and a multifaceted skill set working in PR marketing and travel expert, as you were saying. Was that always the plan, or is it just something that's grown organically over the years?
Well, I actually originally wanted to become a lawyer. Solicitor. I was a big fan of Ally McBeal, and so I decided that I wanted to be a solicitor. Then A-level college was when I got my first taste of business studies because I couldn't do A-level law because it didn't work with the other subjects I wanted to do. So I ended up doing business and then realised that I just absolutely loved marketing with a passion. I love the creativity and the storytelling and all of that. I just absolutely loved it. So then that swayed my choice of degree. So I did an international business degree, specialised in marketing as well. So I've always had a love of travel, hence the international element of my degree. And I've loved marketing. And then when I graduated, I realised that I wasn't really sure what industry I wanted to go into or anything to do with that. I had this vision that I'd be really high up in a big multinational firm running their marketing team. That's what I had this vision of doing. And then I ended up on a graduate placement school. I worked for Shell International for a year during university. So in the oil industry, very, very different. And their commercial team building websites from scratch for them back when you could build a website very easily. Just using HTML. So I was doing that, sorted all the database systems out, office relocations, loads and loads of different things for them. And then when I graduated, I applied for loads of different graduate schemes. I ended up working for Vauxhall Motors in the motor industry. And their graduate scheme, they trained you up so that by the end of the 3 years, they could drop you into any dealership and you could just run it. That was the aim. And so that first year, they'd put me on every single sales marketing course Vauxhall did for the dealerships. And it was supposed to be a 3-year program. So my first year was sales. So I did used car sales, new car sales, all of that. Then they made all the graduates redundant because the motor industry took a nosedive, made all the graduates redundant, and that was the end of my my motor industry career. And I just bought my first house, so I had to get take the first job I could find that would pay me enough money to pay my mortgage, which happened to be, again, in sales. It was for IBM. So it was helping the sales team in sales support with multi-million pound orders of servers that need to be shipped to the likes of AstraZeneca and big Barclays, massive banks all over the UK from the factory in Germany. So I did that for 18 months and realised I found it a bit boring, to be honest. Not to offend anyone who's very techy who listens to your podcast, but I couldn't get that much enthusiasm for this server's got a bit more memory than the other one had, or this server's a tiny bit faster than that other one. So I decided to then look around for something that would give me excitement and energy. And I saw an advert for a sales and marketing manager for a brand new Irish pub that was opening in Manchester called Waxy O'Connor's. Now, some of you who are slightly older may remember Waxy O'Connor's. I opened it in 2002.
I think we've all been in Waxy O'Connor's, and there are lots of Manchester listeners who have been in Waxy O'Connor's as well.
So I launched that in Manchester and then launched one for them in Birmingham 6 weeks later. Then oversaw the ones in London and up in Glasgow and worked for the group that owned them and helped them launch other brands. Oversaw the sales and marketing teams in other ones, posh restaurants, gin and steakhouse places. Yeah, loads and loads of wonderful brands. So I worked for them for about 2.5 years. I ended up on the committee for Manchester Irish Festival, helping to pull that together and the big parades that used to come through the city. Absolutely loved it. Got headhunted by Malmaison Hotels. So went to work for Malmaison as a business development person and then got headhunted again by Yang Sing. Now, I don't know if anyone remembers the Yang Sing restaurant in Manchester, but it was the biggest Cantonese restaurant in Europe. So there was 2 floors of fine dining and then 2 floors of banqueting suites. So the biggest banqueting suite could do private dinners for up to 220 people. And then the ones below could go up to 160 combined. See, I could still remember all this stuff. Could still do a show round if you want.
It's embedded, isn't it?
Yeah, could do your show round.
So
Talk about all the menus and the pricing. And so, yeah, so I was brought into Yangsing they wanted to launch new brands. So they wanted to launch Lotus Bar and Dim Sum, which was a dim sum and champagne bar on King Street in Manchester. For anyone that remembers it, it was over several floors, with the third top floor being a roof terrace that had views out over St Anne's Square. It was gorgeous. So I did all the branding and promotion and marketing for that. Sold it to some gorgeous city centre weddings. So that had gorgeous views of the skyline from the rooftop and all of that. It was lovely. And then I was tasked with rebranding and relaunching the big flagship Yangsing restaurant for its 30th year. And it turns out that I'm the same age as Yangsing, so it was my 30th year as well. So I was like, come to 30th birthday. So it was brilliant. So we had a massive big 30th birthday celebrations all of that year for the Yangsing, which is also my birthday. And it was amazing. Absolutely loved it. And then the owner of Yangsing one day turned to me and said, oh, they had a boutique hotel as well, called the Yangsing Oriental. And the owner turned to me and said, Sarah, what are you going to do now? Because I'm not planning to launch anything more, so you're going to get bored. I know you still sell and fill the conference and banqueting suites and the restaurant corporate booking, but you're going to get bored because there's nothing big that you're doing. So what do you want to do? And I was like, well, maybe I might go freelance. Maybe I'll go freelance but I don't want to be pigeonholed into only doing restaurants because I said, no offense, I can do this with my eyes closed now. So I need something different. And so he said, well, don't worry. I'll support you as much as I can. Just let me know the right opportunity will come up. Start telling people that's what you want to do. So I did. And one of my friends who had become a friend because he was one of my VIP guests to my launch of everything that I'd first met when I was at Waxes and launched Waxes was the Olympic swimmer, James Hickman. And he had just retired from professional swimming and set up his own media company called Made in Manchester. Now, he said to me one day, Sarah, are you serious about going freelance? Because I just landed the contract to deliver the marketing communications for the World Swimming Championships, which are coming into the Manchester Evening News Arena. We're going to build a big pool in there. It'll be the first time they've ever done that. And whilst I know everything there is to know about swimming, I know all the sports journalists, I don't have the PR and marketing and strategy knowledge that you have. So how about you come and work with me and you can add all the theory and the strategy stuff into what we're doing. So I was like, yeah, okay then. He said, I'll give you 3 days a week. So that's what we decided to do. And I told my boss and gave my notice that I would leave in a month's time based on 3 days a week working for Made in Manchester. And then when one of the last events I ever did at Yangsing, probably about 3 days before I was due to leave, was for the airline Finnair, who'd hired the big banqueting suite for, then they had about 120 travel agents who were due to come in for a big dinner and entertainment and everything to launch their new Beijing routes from Manchester Airport. And all their senior management team, of CEO, everyone was flying in from Helsinki for this launch. Anyway, the sales guy phones me up a couple of days before their event in absolute panic, saying, "Oh my God, Sarah, I've got loads of these travel agents who are coming because we sent the invites out and the RSVP to me. But I've just discovered our PR agency, who was supposed to have organised the event, hasn't done anything. So we don't have any entertainment, any seating plan, any running order, any goodie bags, any table designs for the space, nothing. Can you help us? What are we going to do?" And I was like, it's fine. I'll sort it out. So I sorted the whole thing out. They had Chinese lion dancers coming in. They had fan dancing. They had goodie bags. I got my florist that we used to use to do big centerpieces in the tables. I sorted the goodie bags out for them. It was all sorted. And the head office team arrived completely unaware that it'd been all last minute and shouted about how it was the best launch event they'd ever been to. And I'd done it in 2 days. So the local team said, should we have a chat? Because I said, oh, by the way, I'm leaving. I'm going freelance. So if I can ever help you with anything else, any other events, let me know. So I followed up after I'd left Jiangxing, had a coffee with them, and they said, well, we're rethinking our PR strategy in the UK. We've got rid of our old PR agency and we're going out to tender. Would you like to put in for it?
Wow.
And I'd never done pure PR before. I'd never done airline or travel stuff before. And I just went, oh, yeah, okay. And so I did a proposal based on the fact that I knew Chinese business because I'd worked for Chinese business and had lots of Chinese business contacts. So I could really help them with their China routes. So that's what I went in and pitched for based on that. So they said, okay, we'll give you 6 months trial, see how you get on, and we'll go from there. So I did their PR for 7 years in the UK, helped them build up their Asia strategy. I got to do brand alignment strategies that I'd only ever read about, and they worked like a dream. I helped them to become the 4th choice of airline for business travellers flying to Asia from Manchester, when before they were number 12. So I increased all the passenger numbers. I looked after them from London as well. And it was just phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. And 4 years in, they gave me an award for being their best international PR agent. And when I went to collect my award, because up till that point, I did always introduce myself to people as, hi, I'm a marketing expert who also does PR. And when I went to collect my award, they said, you are the best PR agent in the world. So can you do us all a favor now and stop introducing yourself as someone who plays at PR because you don't? And I was like, okay. That's when I switched and I introduced myself now as a PR expert who also understands marketing.
Three things I really, really love about that. I really love that your boss recognized your skill set and that you were going to be bored.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really positive and
Yeah.
something we all need in our workplaces. Just how the opportunities have come to you, just like stories in themselves, and the fact that you followed up and you took action, and it's just
Yeah.
taking you on
Yeah.
this journey. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's how I started my freelance because I was doing the PR for the World Swimming Championships and the PR for Finnair, the international airline. So that set me going, and we won multiple awards for the World Swimming Championships for best event look and feel for all the marketing, which was amazing. Went on to do the marketing communications for GB Taekwondo, the World Taekwondo Championships, World Squash Championships, World Lacrosse Championships, loads of big sporting events. I've done the marketing communications for, sold tickets, got bums on seats, smashed the ticket targets for every single one, and managed press teams on the day. Then did the PR for Finnair for 7 years alongside that, doing all sorts of really good, clever stuff that they were happy to do, including press trips to over to Finland to Helsinki and over to Lapland and over to Tokyo as well in Japan. Experience, just absolutely loved it. And then I basically lost the Finnair contract because the planes were all full. And I couldn't put fit journalists on them to go and do reviews of things. I couldn't get them on a seat on the plane to do press trips. So they said, look, Sarah, we think you've done a great job, but kind of job done. We're not planning to increase frequencies or the routes from the UK. So thank you very much. And I was like gutted because it was like my baby. Like
Yeah.
even now, if you chop an arm off, you probably see a blue Finnair F on my bones. So I was like an adoptive Finnish person. And then luckily for me, the aviation director who was at Manchester Airport, who'd witnessed what I'd helped Finnair to do, he had moved to Birmingham Airport. And one of my contacts said, go speak to him because he always goes on about how amazing you are. Go speak to him. So it's like, okay. I managed to go and speak to him. He cleared his diary to see me. I thought, oh, this is brilliant. He really must love me. And I got there and he said, are you here to tell me that Finnair wants to fly from Birmingham? I was like, no. I then told him and he said, oh my God, that mark my words, that's the worst decision that airline will ever make. He said, now let me have a look, open up my little black book and see who else could do with your help. And he opened up his little black book and made personal recommendations about me to 3 other airlines, one of whom was Iceland Air. And I went down to London and met with the Iceland Air guys and fell in love with Iceland completely. The Iceland Airlines as well. So now I'm also an adoptive Icelandic person. And I've been to Iceland 7 times, I think it is now. Absolutely adore it.
An
It's
amazing thing.
amazing country. Love Icelandic people. I just love everything about the culture. So I did the PR for Iceland Air for about 4.5 years, but just pre-COVID. And then I also got the honour of working back with the brand that owned Waxy O'Connor's and doing some work for them. And also, while I was at Yangsing, do you remember I launched Lotus Bar and Dim Sum on King Street with the roof terrace? Well,
Yeah.
during that time, I helped a theatre contact to put Dracula on the roof. because they can see the town hall behind him. And so it worked for all their marketing. And then that started a relationship with this theatre company. So I did all of their PR for Feel Good Theatre Productions that did all the open air promenade theatre in Heaton Park in Manchester. So that got me into the cultural sphere. So I was doing PR for theatre and big cultural events in the city. Absolutely loved that. So I've worked with them more recently as well. So the last thing that project I did for them was last year. And they did a tour of Slave, A Question of Freedom. And yeah, they're just absolutely phenomenal theatre company. So I'm honoured that I've got to work with them since I went freelance in 2006. And yeah, so it's just phenomenal. Some of the things that been able to do is just amazing. And so I love working with different industries and different clients. When COVID hit, that wiped out my business as it was. So when COVID hit, I was only working part-time because I was a mum. So my part-time clients, I had Iceland Air, I had Feel Good Theatre Productions, and then I had Glendola Leisure, who own Waxy O'Connor's. So those were my three main clients because I was only doing 3 days a week. And then COVID happened and wiped out my entire business as I knew it. And what happened was that actually plunged me back into grief. So back in 2015, I had my first little girl, Violet, and sadly, she passed away at 15 months old in 2016. And that was just absolutely horrendous. But what I discovered is that child loss is like the final taboo. No one wants to talk about the loss of a child or child dying. There's no quicker way to kill a mood in a room than to talk about your dead child. And I went back to work straight away because I was high functioning with my grief. And through myself, I was doing awards, PR for big award ceremonies. I did obviously launch new routes for airlines and press trips, and I just threw myself into my work. Now, no one could really understand what to do with me in terms of help wise or counselling wise because they couldn't really understand why I was still fully functioning. Then, sadly, a year after losing Violet, we lost a little boy, Arthur, in 2017. And that's when I ended up I started my blog, violetskies.com. So it's violet-skies.com that then tells you the story of what happened and the step by step and how I had to deal with people who couldn't handle the fact that I'd lost a child. And so it was like therapy for me just to write it all in this because there's quite a lot of prejudice around child loss and we lost so many friends who it was almost like people thought it was some kind of disease. If they came too close to us, then maybe their kids had died too. And it was awful. Luckily, we got pregnant straight away after we lost Arthur with our little girl, Aurora, who was born in 2018. So she's now 7, just turned 7. And we called her Aurora because for the meaning of the name, because Aurora is the goddess of the dawn, bringer of light to the world of darkness. And that's what she did for our world. So we thought that was quite an apt name for her. Well, we didn't realise that it was the name of Sleeping Beauty until after we announced the name. And then my 4-year-old niece was like, "Oh my God, you've given her a Disney name."
With you having this amazing thrive for your work and being high functioning with your grief and did you continue to work? But then was there a point where you were called back and it was like, you're going to have to sit in this grief, you're going to have to work through it?
Well, that happened when COVID hit, when it wiped my business
Okay.
out.
I see.
It removed my crutch.
Okay. I understand.
So I had no choice. All my business collapsed. And the way that my hubby had dealt with anniversaries and birthdays and things like that was to travel. So we'd literally escape. So we'd go somewhere else that wasn't home and where no one knew us and we didn't have to deal with people. Sometimes, and people are well-meaning, but sometimes that can be the last thing you want to talk about. So we just escape and we go somewhere else. So that was one of our coping mechanisms. My other coping mechanism was work. And so all of a sudden, when COVID hit, obviously my work disappeared, but also our coping mechanism and being able to travel went as well. So I no longer had travel. I no longer had my clients that I loved to bits. So I went through a whole grieving process of grieving the loss of my clients who I loved, the loss of travel because we weren't allowed to go out anywhere, and went back through the whole grieving process for my two children. And it was the lowest part of my life, to be honest. It was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And then I realized that I needed to grasp whole, and I did, well, what I didn't realize at the time as well is that was when perimenopause symptoms also started. So my perimenopause kicked in too. So, and all the wonderful symptoms there, including brain fog. So it almost not switched off, but dulled my ability to think in a very PR and very strategic way.
Yeah.
And so then I thought, what can I do? You know, how can I grasp and clutch onto travel that was always my savior when the travel industry is on its knees? So how can I stay part of the industry?
Yeah.
And that's when I became a travel agent, because I thought this is the way I can do it. And I can travel, but in the trainings
Yeah.
and completely travel in my mind, even if I can't physically. So that's when I became a travel agent in the middle of COVID, and everyone thought I'd completely lost my mind. But I became a travel agent in COVID, and that's what I did. So plunged myself into travel, which I loved. I still love. And I set up a travel agency called Sarah Stevens Escapes because I used to escape. I used to use travel to escape. So Sarah Stevens Escapes sound perfect. So I specialize in luxury travel and bespoke itineraries because remember, I'd done press trips for journalists to Iceland and New York and loads of different places. So why can't I monetize that? So
Yeah.
it's the same skills. So it made logical sense. And then also, luckily for me, 3 months before COVID hit, my old university lecturer, who I'd kept in touch with all this time since I graduated in 1999, he had stayed in touch with me, and he basically said, Sarah, have you ever thought of teaching? I was like, not really, no. And he's like, well, because we're actually looking for someone who could do a sales and marketing course for our second year management diploma students who've been released from industry to do the course. So we want someone who's not a pure academic who could do the theory, but then give relatable examples. And would you be interested? Using my old motto that I've always lived with of, yeah, okay, let's give it a go. I decided to give it a go. So in the January before COVID hit, I'd started writing a sales and marketing course for the management diploma at MMU, and got to bring in another expert who's more of a sales expert than I am, who I'd actually worked with at Finnair back in the day, who I absolutely adored, and brought her in, and then we did a double act on it. It was amazing. And that was the other thing, that when everything else disappeared, my business and everything was still there because everything just went online. So then I was doing online training as well during COVID and teaching people how to do what I love to do. So it was perfect. And that's when I discovered that I can teach people how to do what I do, and I can do it in quite a simplistic way that's easy for people to understand. So then I was thought, oh, this is a revelation. I never knew this. And of course, my mother, who is a primary school or was a primary school head teacher, and my younger sister's a primary teacher, my aunt's a primary school teacher. My mum obviously claimed all credit for it because it's clearly my DNA from her. But turns out I find writing courses and teaching people how to do what I can do really easy. So I started doing some courses to help the hospitality and travel industry to do their own PR and marketing. Then the travel franchise that I'm part of realised that I could train and teach people how to do stuff. And so then I became an ambassador for the travel company. I was teaching travel agents all over the UK how to do PR marketing, how to PR market themselves and their businesses. Absolutely loved it. But the end of last year, I resigned from that role because it was a voluntary
Yeah.
role, an honorary role. And I realised I didn't really have the time to be dedicating to that when now I'm charging people to do this. And I can do workshops and training sessions. So I absolutely love helping other people and seeing those light bulb moments come on of, oh, it's not as complicated as we thought it was. And then 2 years ago now, I saw someone talk about menopause and the symptoms of perimenopause, and I've never had hot flushes. So the GP had always dismissed me and gone, oh, it's just your grief, blah, blah, blah. Do you want some antidepressants? And then I saw this person talk about perimenopause, and I realized, oh my God, all of those symptoms like brain fog, that were all the symptoms that I had. So I went back to my GP, again, armed with this big list of these are all my symptoms. Are you sure it's not perimenopause? And they were like, oh, we still would rather give you antidepressants. And I said, well, tell you what, why don't you give me HRT, see if that makes a difference. And if it does, brilliant. If it doesn't, then we go down the antidepressant route. So that's what we agreed. And they gave me the lowest dose. And within 2 weeks, I was like a different person. The strategic part of my brain was firing again.
Right.
So that's where, when shortly after that, and it was all firing, I created the scene method was created and
Yeah.
published, and I'm back being able to do full-on strategy days for people. What I didn't realize is it reawoken the part of my brain that a bit more of a psychic connection. So I just know things about people, and that reawoken that part of me that I didn't even realize was something different about me. And so it was
Mhm.
switched off and then switched back on again. And then I was like, oh, can
Oh,
other
right.
people not do this? And they were like, no. And then I realized that quite a lot historically of some of the ideas that I'd had, I think I would probably have taken them from the people that I was chatting to, because they'd go, oh, yeah, that's a brilliant idea. I was thinking about that this morning. And whereas before I used to think it was just coincidence, now I know it's a bit more than that. And so, for instance, I think we met at the Piscine workshop, didn't we?
Yeah.
And what was phenomenal is there was a lady there who I'd done one of my be seen days with, my intensive days, where I spend a full day on you and your business, and we work through where you want to go, what your future vision is. And then I work back from there in terms of helping you to get there through PR, through being in the right rooms and the right spaces and knowing the right messaging and where you need to be and positioned as well. So it's a bit of marketing and PR as well, rolled together. But I can help people. So sometimes people come to me if they're overwhelmed and they're not sure about they've got they're multifaceted like I am. They've got different things going on and they're not sure what their focus should be. Or some people are completely unsure of what they should focus on and everything, of where they should put their attention, and I can help them get that clarity just
Yeah.
from, I can draw it out of them. And this one lady who came to the Vicine workshop that we did arrived and she was pregnant, and during our day together back in March, she said, oh, well, what is it that you see for me? And I said, well, I actually see you having another baby. And then this Basine day, she started laughing that we did together, because at the time they were looking at adoption. So she said, oh, maybe it's this adoption that we've been thinking of and everything. I said, oh yeah, maybe it's that. Anyway, it turns out she was 6 weeks pregnant
Mhm.
on our day. And how I knew, I had no idea. But she obviously came to our workshop pregnant. So yeah, can't guarantee to do that for everyone. But some of the things that, and then there was a lady at our workshop who I just said, Amy, oh, she said, oh, I want to have my own radio show. I was like, okay, well, this is what you need to do. And I just knew what she needs to do. And already she's been interviewed on the radio. So this is the thing. I can connect people up. And
Mhm.
sometimes I just know things. So I did a Basine day with a client up in York last year, and he was like, oh yeah, I just want this from a business. This is the future I want from a business. I want more staff working for me. You want to grow the business. And I said, right, but what do you want personally? What's your future vision? What do you see for yourself? Oh, I just see a bigger business. But as he was telling me this, I could see him on a television screen in my mind. And I said, have you ever had any ambition to be in the media at all? And he just looked at me puzzled. And so I said, like, for example, maybe on television. At that point, he started laughing. And he said, oh, well, it's really funny you should say that. He said, I'm laughing because I can't believe you just said that because I actually trained to be an actor at university. And it's always been my dream to be on television. He said, and I wondered whether I should tell you that or not, which is obviously clearly why I could see it. I wondered whether I should tell you that or not, he said, and because I thought it made me sound a bit egotistical. But I would love to be on television talking about my expert subject of history. And I was like, okay. I said, so what we do then is the strategy for you and your business is set up a YouTube channel and you present on the YouTube channel about your business because he was doing tours. As you do tours, you can talk about the places you're visiting and everything and just do mini videos. I said, and put them all on YouTube. I said, because then you'll build up a portfolio of work showcasing you as a presenter. So in a couple of years, you've got a portfolio you can take to a TV station to go, look at me. Can I be your next guest expert? I said, and we can get you as a guest expert on shows talking about local history. I said, and then maybe you'll get your own show. So it's all that building towards that. And I said, and it will help build your business. And he was like, oh my God, that is genius.
So
But
that psychic element, you're really using it to
yeah,
help people in their possibility and potential that
yeah,
sometimes we don't always see in ourselves,
no,
or we might not always think it's possible, but you've
yeah.
got that insight and that connection and that experience, that expansion.
I think if you can align your personal values and ambitions and
Mhm.
dreams with what you're trying to achieve with your business so that the two are aligned, then you're going to get the results far quicker than
Mhm.
if you just do it, going through the motions and doing it anyway, because you know that it'll build your business up because some experts told you to do it. If it's actually aligned with who you are and your personal strengths and what you want to achieve personally, then you're
Mhm.
going to enjoy every single day. You're going to wake up excited and energized and enthusiastic about what you're going to do that day, which
Mhm.
that all that energy is going to go in and speed up the results in your business and what you're
Mhm.
doing because that it drives everything. So if you're
Yeah.
waking up and thinking, oh God, I've got to go do that live on Facebook, 'cause Sarah said I've got to, because it'll build my business up and I really hate it and I'd rather stick pins in my own eyes and do that. Well, don't do it then. Let's design a
Find another way.
strategy
Yeah.
that sets
Mm.
your soul on fire and gets you to where you want to be. So I always use this analogy, and it's kind of stolen and then changed a bit from most sales coaches that work with people. Always say, like, you've got to have this goal of what you want to achieve in
Mhm.
order to achieve it. So you've got to know what you're aiming for. So sales coaches will say you need to have sales targets and everything, because otherwise it's like getting into your car and putting anywhere in your sat nav. The car doesn't know where to take you. So you have to put
Yeah.
a destination in for it to take you to there. So the way that I work is a step before that. So imagine you're still at home
Yeah.
and you're thinking, oh, I want to go to this place, this vision you've got for your future. So you put that address into Google Maps because you want to see how you're going to get there. And you put it into Google Maps, and Google Maps then says how do you want to get there? Do you want to drive? Do you want to walk? Do you want to get the train? Do you want to fly there? Do you want to take the scenic route? Do you want the fastest route? Do you want to stop off along the way? All of these options is what I work through with people. So
Mhm.
some clients I work with say, I want to get there as fast as I possibly can, Sarah. Brilliant. We'll stick you on the fast route, get you to do everything you can do to get there.
Mhm.
But then other clients say, well, eventually I want to be stood on a big stage. But at the moment, that absolutely terrifies the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So great. Okay, so you want the slow and steady route. We'll go the scenic route and we'll do it gradually and we'll get you there, but in a slower way that is more in line with you, who you are. So, yeah, it's just like, why would you say, right, get in that car, hit the motorway? They might not be able to drive. So that might not be the best option for them. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's finding the option that would work the best.
Oh, you just get this sense of this really expansive, like, nature. Like, have you ever had a job where that sense of expansionness has just been really restricted?
I think that's why I work for myself. I don't work for
Right,
anyone else
so you think that
because
is something that's recognised perhaps in an employed role, but like when you work for yourself, you've just got this expansion that you can lean
mm,
into, do you think?
yeah, I don't I think I'd make a very rubbish employee, to be honest. Because sometimes I do keep go off on tangents, and
Mhm.
sometimes clients don't really. I just know certain things, and I say, right, I know you need to speak to this person, and they're like,
Mm.
why? I
But
don't know. I just know you do. And then once they do,
yeah,
like it
just
all
open
falls
up.
into place and they know why they had to speak to that person
Mhm.
because that person had exactly the same mission in life as them because they had exactly the same childhood experience as them.
Yeah.
And I just knew that they had to be connected. But sometimes I just know things that
No, I
sometimes
understand. Yeah.
doesn't work in a traditional corporate
Yeah,
environment
I get
because
you.
some
Mm.
people don't understand how you can just know they need to do that.
Can we talk about you being an advocate for child loss
hmm
after you lost? Did that come after losing Violet or Arthur?
It
Or
was after Arthur,
Mhm.
because I started writing my blog then. So my Violet-Skies blog, I started writing after Arthur just to try and initially to try and help other people to understand what it's like. And what I didn't realize is that just how well read the blog would be, especially globally, like in the
Yeah.
States. So I had think over the space of the first couple of years, I had about 10 people, well, about a dozen actually, about 12 people reach out to me to say thank you. A couple of people in the States reached out to say that they had lost babies and their relationships had broken down and they were all on their own and they were on their own late at night. They were considering taking their own lives and they Googled and stumbled across my blog and they started reading it and they digested the whole thing in the night, they said, and they just felt less alone, that someone
Yeah.
else understood. And they said, and what I'd written about gave them hope that they could go on and create legacy for the memories of the children. And that just meant the world to me once those comments. And then someone messaged me thanking me because a friend of theirs had gone through a loss and they weren't sure how to help them and what to do. And they'd read my blog and it gave them a bit of an insight into how they should
Right.
approach it and what they should do and what they should
Yeah.
say and what not to say. So I just felt that I was helping people. And then when lockdown happened and I went back through the whole grieving process again, as I was starting to come out the other side, I thought I need to do more than just have a blog. I need to be able to reach more people. I need to learn how to talk about this on stage without crying and breaking down about it every time someone wants more details. So I signed up then to a speaking coach called Danny Wallace and learn how to talk about it and turn it into a talk
Yeah.
about my experience so that I could help other people. So that's what I'd learned to do during lockdown and then spoke in I think it was 2021 for the first time about it at an International Women's Day event for the Cheshire
Okay.
Club and got up on stage and spoke about it, giving advice for people of how to deal with other people and what to do if they knew someone who'd been through a similar thing. So that was my talk that I'd done with Danny, and it went down really well and was amazing. And then since then, I've adjusted it slightly. So I now do a different version that I can either deliver with more of a travel message, or I can deliver it with more of a PR message,
Yeah,
more of a
right.
businessy message. So I've got two versions of it that I deliver. And what I didn't realize at the time, but I rejigged it with a new message to that had a travel message to it for a festival 2 years ago. And my message was stop procrastinating and stop putting things off. That
Yeah.
everyone says someday and one day. Well, do you know what? They're not days of the week, so they don't exist. And if you're a believer in manifestation and the universe doesn't know when one day and someday are either. So if you want something to happen, you need to put it in your diary. So you need to book that holiday, pay that deposit, book the time off work for it, whatever. Put clear intentions out there that you intend to do this rather than saying, one day we'll take the kids to Disney, someday we'll do Lapland. We need to just do it, do the thing now. Okay. So I did that talk, and what I didn't realize is that it actually impacted people who had never experienced child loss, but impacted them in the way that they need to stop procrastinating in their own lives and to do stuff now. And following the talk, the first time I did that talk actually was 3 years ago now, I think. And it was because I'd stopped talking about it. After I did the talk, the International Women's Day event,
Yeah.
I had a friend troll me online, and
Who's clearly not a friend.
no, she basically accused me of using my dead daughter to sell holidays. And that really hurt. So I stopped talking about it. And then I went to an event a couple of years ago. I won a ticket for it, so I didn't even buy a ticket to go. Went along, and it was speak from your soul. What is your soul's purpose? Who'd like to come up and share? So I just went up and literally went, and it all just came out. This whole talk
Yeah.
about one day, someday at the end, then, which wasn't even my original talk. And it was just impromptu. I spoke for 10 minutes, and the whole room was just in silence. And there was people crying, came to hug me after then, and I just channeled it all. And 3 months later, one of the audience members messaged me. I wasn't connected to her on Facebook. She's requested me as a friend on Facebook, messaged me and said, Sarah, I just felt I need to reach out to you because I was in the room when you did that talk. She said, and because of that, I've changed my life. She said, I'm a mum of two, got a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. She said they were in full-time childcare 5 days a week. My hubby works for himself, so can work from anywhere. She said, once we'd listened to your talk, she said, I went home, spoke to hubby. She said, and I spoke to my boss to ask my boss, could I possibly work remotely? My boss said yes. She said, so we renovated our camper van. We boxed our house up, put everything in storage. We rented our home out, and we've gone off around Europe in a camper van for 2 years until my children start school. She said, and then I'll be back. She said, because we realised that life's too short. What are we doing? She said, I realised, what am I doing putting my children in full-time childcare when we don't have to do that? She said, so you've changed my life. Thank you.
Power of words that should
She's
never be muted. It should never be
No.
muted.
So she said, so please promise me that you're not going to stop talking about it. So
Mm.
that's when I decided I wasn't going to stop talking about it. And I spoke about it at Will Manifest this year, and a few people came up and thanked me at the end. I spoke about it last year at U Fest, and two friends of mine were in the audience. Both of them made changes in their life. One of them had always talked about having every Friday off. And that once she made a certain amount of money in her business, she was going to have every Friday off. And she just thought, sod it, I'm going to do it now. So she just did it. And the business has grown. She's doing amazingly well. And she has every Friday off because she just decided. And then my other friend had decided was one that said, oh, so one day we'll do Disney, or one day, or next year we'll do Disney, next year we'll do Disney. She said, and I just thought, after listening to your talk, Sarah, what am I going on about? Why don't I just do it now? So it was, I think that my talk was in the June. So she decided I'm going to take her to Disneyland Paris this summer holidays. So she decided she went off, booked it, paid for the holiday on a credit card. She worked for herself, her own business. So she then launched an offer that she only needed 3 people to take up, and that would pay for Disney. So she did it.
Oh, Sarah, and I really got one question for you now, just one last question for you. Your story's just amazing, it's just incredible, and you're really inspiring. What is next for you? What are you expanding into next?
Well, I'm not doing anything else new.
Okay.
I'm doubling down on the Basine method, but I have just actually, I say I'm not doing anything new, but it was only 2 months ago, so it feels old now. 2 months ago, I launched the Global Visibility Club, which is really exciting because it's like a container. It's a membership with a difference. So the community is super supportive of each other. Most of the community are avid networkers and go into different audiences and things like that. So they can be champions of each other. But I also teach people how to do their own PR, but I support them along the way as well. So whilst I've always had courses and things that people have been able to dive into and do, they've then said, well, actually, it'd be really good to have you on hand to feed us information and to keep us accountable. Because I think sometimes when you run your own business, you just need that accountability to keep on top of it and to make yourself visible, and also have someone that you can ask for ideas or just get some recognition from, that you're on the right path and you're doing the right thing. Because sometimes I think if you're a
Yeah.
self-employed person, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to do this, but is that right? Is that worded correctly? Should I do that or not? Oh, and you just want to run it past someone. So it gives you the opportunity to do that within my Global Visibility Club. And any members also get access to all of my courses as well, so that they can then deep dive on things that they need to. And we also do monthly sessions, where the first one we did a session about how to get on more stages for speaking opportunities, paid and unpaid. And we looked at that. The next deep dive I think we're going to do is on podcasts, funnily enough. And we've got ones planned for like LinkedIn and social media and award entries and things like that as well. So there's quite a few different deep dive topics we're going to do that can help with visibility that people might need extra assistance on. So it's really exciting because I've always championed my clients, even if it's someone that's just done a Be Seen day with me and then gone off to implement themselves. If I see an opportunity, I'll signpost them to it, or an event, try to see someone, I'll go, oh my God, I know you need to speak to someone else, and I'll connect them. And my coach said, Sarah, you need to monetize some of that, all the connections you do. And so that's when the Global Visibility Club was born. And my logo for that actually incorporates all of my 3 children.
Oh, Sarah, it's been a joy speaking to you. I've really enjoyed it, and I've just learnt so much. Actually, I've learnt so much. So thank you.
You're welcome. And hopefully you might see you in the Global Visibility Club, Andrea.
I think probably, yeah, probably will do. Yeah, at some
Brilliant.
point. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
One of the reasons that I started the podcast was for people to be able to come and share their stories and for other people to listen. And it's really so that people can see beyond what they see at surface level, and that life can throw us some really dark moments. But when we hear stories of how people have moved through those times, navigated those times, I think it helps us to feel not so alone, but also gives us courage and faith to continue in the darkest moments of our life. I really love Sarah's career journey and how these opportunities just came before her and she was open to them and she took them, and how it's led to this amazing, body of knowledge and expertise, and really supporting people to be seen and be heard. For more details about Sarah's work, I have put all the details in the show notes, along with her blog Violet Skies, that focuses on child loss and how Sarah navigated those moments along with her husband and family, and how writing that blog has helped others. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Connection Compass. If you think this episode will help someone else, please leave a review. If you have any questions about the podcast at all, please contact my Facebook page, Andrea L. Evans. And remember to keep talking, keep connecting for a more interconnected world.